Your Majesty, I have heard about your illness and about the many physicians who have tried to cure you. I believe that, by God's permission, I can restore your health. You believe you can cure me? Many physicians have come before you, and every one of them has failed. What makes you believe that you can succeed?
Long ago, in the ancient kingdom of Persia, there lived a powerful king named Yunan. King Yunan ruled over a wealthy and prosperous kingdom. His palace was filled with servants, guards, scholars, physicians, ministers, and nobles. His armies were strong, his treasury was full, and his people respected him. Yet, despite all his power and wealth, the king suffered from a terrible illness. His body was covered with leprosy, and none of the physicians in his kingdom could find a cure. The greatest doctors were summoned to the palace. They examined the king carefully and prescribed medicines, herbs, powders, ointments, and various treatments. They tried everything they knew, but nothing brought him relief. Days passed, then weeks and months, but the king's condition did not improve. At last, the physicians admitted that they had exhausted their knowledge and could do nothing more for him. King Yunan became deeply troubled. He possessed great wealth, powerful armies, and a magnificent palace. But none of these things could give him the one thing he desperately needed: his health. Then, one day, a remarkable physician arrived in the kingdom. His name was Duban. Duban was a man of extraordinary knowledge. He had traveled through many lands and studied the writings and sciences of different nations. He understood medicine,
the king is
herbs,
gravely ill.
plants,
Yes, the royal
roots,
healers are at a loss.
and the effects of different
King
remedies
ill?
upon
This
the
is
human
grave
body.
news indeed.
He had also studied philosophy and other branches of knowledge. When Duban heard about the king's illness, he became interested. He carefully considered the nature of the disease and believed that he could find a way to cure the king. The following morning, Duban went to the palace and requested permission to enter the king's presence. He approached the throne, bowed respectfully, and spoke.
Your Majesty, I have heard about your illness and about the many physicians who have tried to cure you. I believe that, by God's permission, I can restore your health. You believe you can cure me? Many physicians have come before you, and every one of them has failed. What makes you believe that you can succeed? Your Majesty, I have studied your illness carefully. I will prepare a treatment especially for you. You will not have to swallow bitter medicine, and you will not need to endure painful treatment. You will simply follow my instructions. And if your treatment succeeds, then you will have nothing but gratitude for me, my king. I seek only the opportunity to serve you. If you truly restore my health, Duban, I will reward you generously. You will have a place of honor beside me, and I will never forget what you have done.
Duban thanked the king and returned home to prepare the treatment. He carefully selected the medicines and herbs he needed. After much preparation, he fashioned a special wooden mallet and filled it with his remedy. He also prepared a ball to be used with it. When everything was ready, Duban returned to the palace and explained what the king needed to do.
Your Majesty, tomorrow you must go to the royal playing ground. Take this mallet and use it while playing ball. Strike the ball repeatedly until your hand becomes warm and begins to sweat. And that will be enough? Yes, my king. Once the medicine has entered your body through your skin, return to the palace and take a complete bath. Then rest and allow the treatment to take its effect. Very well. I will follow your instructions.
The following day, King Yunan went to the playing ground with his attendants, ministers, guards, and nobles. Duban was there waiting for him. The king mounted his horse and began to play. He struck the ball again and again with the mallet, chasing it across the field. As his body became warm and sweat appeared upon his skin, the medicine hidden inside the mallet began to enter his body. Duban watched carefully until he was satisfied that the treatment had taken effect. He then advised the king to return to the palace and bathe. The king followed his instructions. He entered the royal bathhouse and washed himself thoroughly. Afterward, he dressed in fresh clothing and returned to his chamber. That night, the king slept peacefully. When morning came, an extraordinary change had taken place. The terrible disease that had covered his body was gone. His skin was clear, and his strength had returned. King Yunan could hardly believe what he saw. He examined his body again and again, amazed that the illness which had defeated every physician in his kingdom had disappeared. He had been completely cured. The king's joy was beyond measure. He dressed in his finest royal garments and entered his audience hall, where his ministers, nobles, commanders, and servants were gathered. When they saw their king restored to health, they were filled with amazement and happiness. King Yunan immediately called for Duban. When the physician entered the hall, the king welcomed him warmly and ordered him to sit beside him.
Duban, you have done what no physician in my kingdom could do. You have restored my health when I had almost lost hope. Your Majesty, I am grateful that my knowledge has been of service to you. All healing comes by God's permission. From this day forward, you shall not be treated as an ordinary physician. You are my friend, and you will always have a place beside me. I am deeply honored, my king.
The king ordered that Duban be given rich gifts, fine clothing, gold, and every honor that could be given to a trusted companion. From that day onward, Duban became one of the king's closest companions. The king enjoyed speaking with him, listening to his wisdom, and sharing meals with him. But while the king admired Duban, one man watched everything with growing bitterness. He was the king's Wazir. The Wazir saw the honor given to Duban. He saw the gifts the physician received and the trust the king placed in him. Instead of being grateful that Duban had saved the king's life, the Wazir became consumed by jealousy. He feared that Duban's influence would continue to grow until the king trusted the physician more than his own ministers. The Wazir's jealousy slowly became hatred. At last, he decided to turn the king against Duban. One day, the Wazir entered the king's presence with a troubled expression. The king noticed immediately.
You seem troubled today. What is weighing upon your mind? My king, I am troubled because I fear for your safety. My safety? Why would you say that? Because you have placed great trust in a man whose intentions may not be as good as you believe. You are speaking of Duban. Yes, my king, I fear that you have given him too much confidence and too much access to your person. But what has Duban done to deserve such suspicion? He cured me when every other physician had failed. That is precisely why you must be cautious. A man who possesses such knowledge may be capable of doing great good, but he may also be capable of great harm. What reason do you have to accuse him? Consider how he cured you. He gave you something to hold it in your hand. If he can place something in your hand that heals you, what prevents him from placing something in your hand that could destroy you?
The king's expression changed. He had never thought of Duban in such a way before. The Wazir saw that his words had begun to create doubt, so he continued.
My king, a ruler must never allow gratitude to blind him to danger. There are people who appear loyal while secretly planning harm. A wise ruler must examine every matter carefully before trusting anyone completely. And how can you be certain that Duban intends me harm? I cannot see inside his heart. That is precisely why we must be cautious.
The Wazir then began to tell the king stories of people who had acted too quickly, trusted the wrong person, or failed to understand what was happening until it was too late. His first story was about a king and his faithful falcon. There was once a powerful king named Sindbad who loved hunting. He owned a faithful falcon that accompanied him wherever he went. The bird was devoted to the king, and Sindbad trusted it greatly. One day, the king went hunting with his soldiers and servants. After a long chase, they succeeded in bringing down a wild animal. But the day had become extremely hot, and the king was exhausted. The sun burned fiercely, and the king became terribly thirsty. He searched for water, but could find none. At last, he noticed drops of liquid falling from a tree. The king believed that he had finally found a source of water. He collected the drops in a cup and raised it to his lips. But before he could drink, the falcon struck the cup with its wings and knocked it from his hand. The king was surprised and annoyed. He filled the cup again. Once more, the falcon knocked it away. The king became angry.
Why do you keep doing this? I am thirsty, and you continue to spill the water.
The king filled the cup for a third time. This time he intended to drink it himself. But again, the falcon struck the cup and spilled the liquid. The king's anger overcame him.
You ungrateful creature! I have trusted you for years, and now when I need you most, you refuse to obey me!
In his anger, the king struck the falcon with his sword and wounded it severely. But even while injured, the faithful bird continued trying to draw the king's attention toward the tree. The king finally looked upward. There, among the branches, he saw a poisonous snake. The drops falling from the tree were not water at all. They were poison dripping from the serpent. Had the king drunk that liquid, he would have died. At once, he understood what the falcon had been trying to tell him. The bird had not been disobedient. It had been trying to save his life. But the king had acted in anger before understanding the truth, and he had destroyed the very creature that had protected him. The king was filled with regret, but his regret came too late.
You see, my king, a person may destroy a faithful servant when he acts before understanding the truth. That is a painful lesson. But what has it to do with Duban? It teaches us that we must not allow appearances or affection to prevent us from protecting ourselves.
The king remained silent, but the Wazir had another story to tell. There was once a merchant who had a beautiful wife. The merchant loved her, but he was also extremely jealous. Because his business required him to travel, he was sometimes away from home for long periods. Before one journey, he obtained a clever parrot and kept it in his house. The merchant knew that the bird could remember what it saw and heard, and he hoped that it would tell him what happened while he was away. During his absence, however, his wife secretly began meeting another man. When the merchant returned home, he became suspicious and questioned the parrot.
Tell me what happened while I was away. Did anyone come to the house?
The parrot told him that a man had been visiting his wife. The merchant was furious. He confronted his wife, but she denied everything. The woman then discovered that the parrot had revealed her secret. She became frightened and began thinking of a way to make her husband believe that the bird was lying. She gathered the servant girls and asked them what they could do. Together, they created a false storm around the parrot's cage. One servant turned a handmill so that it made a loud noise. Another sprinkled water near the cage. Another moved a piece of metal back and forth, creating sounds like thunder. They made it appear as though there had been darkness, rain, wind, and a terrible storm during the night. The following morning, the merchant questioned the parrot again.
What happened last night? Tell me what you saw. There was such a terrible storm that I could not see or hear anything clearly. Nothing at all? Think!
The merchant looked at the bird in surprise. He knew that the weather had been completely calm. There had been no storm. He concluded that the parrot had lied. In his anger, he killed the bird. Only later did he discover the truth. The servant girls eventually confessed that they had created the false storm to deceive the merchant. The merchant then realized that the parrot had been telling the truth all along, but it was too late. He had killed the faithful bird because he had acted without knowing the truth.
That merchant regretted his decision only after the damage had been done. Exactly, my king. A ruler must be careful. Once a mistake is made, regret may come too late. But you still have not shown me that Duban is dangerous. Then allow me to tell you one more story.
There was once a king whose son loved hunting. The prince often rode into the wilderness with his father's Wazir. One day, while they were hunting, the prince saw a wild animal and immediately pursued it. The chase carried him farther and farther away from the hunting party until he became completely separated from the others. As he wandered through the wilderness, he came upon a young woman who appeared frightened and helpless. The prince stopped and approached her.
Who are you? And why are you alone in this wilderness?
I am the daughter of a great king. I was traveling with a caravan when I fell from my animal and became separated from my people. I have been wandering here alone ever since.
The prince felt sorry for her. Believing her story, he offered to help her.
Do not be afraid. Come with me, and I will take you somewhere safe.
Safe?
The woman accepted his help. As they traveled together, she eventually asked the prince to stop.
Please wait here for me. I need to step away for a moment.
Very well. I will wait for you here.
The prince followed her secretly into the old ruin. There, he discovered a terrible truth. The woman was not a helpless princess at all. She was an ogress. He heard her speaking to her children, telling them that she had brought them a young man for their dinner. Her children eagerly called for her to bring him to them so they could eat him. The prince was filled with terror. He quietly crawled out of the ruin and prayed for protection. The ogress came after him, but after hearing his prayer, she turned away. The prince seized the opportunity and escaped. He returned to his father and told him everything that had happened. The king then summoned the Wazir, who had been responsible for accompanying the prince, and the Wazir was killed for abandoning him. The Wazir telling this story then used it as a warning to King Yunan. Just as a seemingly helpless woman had deceived the prince, a seemingly trustworthy person could also hide dangerous intentions. The king's suspicion grew. He remembered how strangely Duban had cured him. The physician had healed him without medicine, using something held in his hand. The king began to fear that the same knowledge that had saved his life could also be used to destroy him. He wondered whether Duban might secretly be a spy who had come to harm him. At last, the king turned to his Wazir and asked, "What should be done with him?" The Wazir replied, "Send for him immediately. Summon him to your presence and have him killed before he can harm you." The king agreed. He ordered that Duban be summoned at once. The physician came to the palace in a joyful mood, completely unaware of what had been decided against him. He entered the king's presence and began to address him with words of gratitude and praise. Duban had no idea that the king had already decided to put him to death.
My king, you summoned me. How may I serve you? Duban, I have decided that you must die.
Duban was stunned. For a moment, he could hardly believe what he had heard.
My lord, why do you wish to kill me? What crime have I committed? I have learned that you are a spy who came here to kill me. I will strike first. How can you believe this? I healed you when every other physician had failed. I have served you faithfully and never wished you harm. Your words will not save you.
Duban reminded the king of the good he had done for him. He reminded him that he had healed him when no other physician could. But the king would not change his mind. The executioner was summoned, and Duban realized that the king truly intended to have him killed. Still, the physician made one final request.
My king, if there is no way to save my life, grant me a little time to return home. I must settle my affairs, arrange my obligations, and distribute my books of medicine. Among them is one book unlike any other. It is a rare and precious book, and I will give it to you as a treasure. And what is so remarkable about this book? It contains extraordinary secrets. And there is one secret in particular. After my head has been cut off, if you open the book according to my instructions, my head will speak and answer whatever you ask.
The king was astonished by what he heard. He agreed to give Duban the delay he requested and ordered that the physician be taken home under guard. Duban returned home and settled his affairs. The next day, he would return to the palace carrying the mysterious book. The following day, Duban returned to the palace carrying the mysterious book. The royal court was crowded with ministers, nobles, commanders, and officials. The executioner stood ready. Duban approached the king and presented the book.
My king, before I die, I have brought you a rare and precious book. Keep it among your treasures. What is so special about this book? It is a book of healing, my lord. Show me. It contains remarkable secrets. After my head has been cut off, place it upon a tray and press it down upon the powder I have brought. Then open the book. You will discover something extraordinary. And you are certain that this book contains such a secret? Yes, my king. Follow my instructions carefully.
The king accepted the book. Duban then asked for a tray. The tray was brought before him, and he poured a fine powder onto it. He explained that after his head was cut off, it must be placed upon the tray and pressed down upon the powder. Then the king would know that it was time to open the book. The king gave the signal to the executioner. Duban knew that his final moment had arrived. Even then, he made one last appeal.
My king, remember that I served you faithfully. Spare me, and God will spare you.
But the king would not change his decision. The executioner raised his sword. The sword fell. Duban's head was struck from his body. His body fell to the ground. The attendants placed his head upon the prepared tray and pressed it down upon the powder. The blood stopped flowing. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Duban opened his eyes.
Now open the book, O king.
The king opened the book, but the pages were stuck together. He moistened his finger and turned the first page. There was nothing written upon it. He turned another page. Still, there was nothing. He continued turning the pages, moistening his finger each time because the pages were difficult to separate. After several pages, the king looked at them in confusion. There was still no writing.
O physician, there is nothing written in this book. Turn over more pages.
The king continued turning the pages. He did not know that the book had been poisoned. With every page he touched, the poison entered his body. Soon, the venom began to take effect. The king suddenly felt weak. His body began to tremble. Then violent convulsions seized him. He cried out in terror as the poison spread through his body.
The poison has done its work!
The king's strength failed him. He fell to the ground before his throne. Then Duban's severed head began to speak. It recited words about rulers who had acted unjustly and were eventually punished for their actions. And when Duban's head had finished speaking, King Yunan fell dead. And so ended the story of King Yunan and the physician Duban. The fisherman had finished his warning to the Jinni, who was still trapped inside the sealed vessel. But before we could hear what happened next, the first light of dawn appeared. Shahrazad stopped her story.
My sister, what a wonderful and astonishing story! And this is nothing compared with what I could tell you tomorrow night, if the king spares my life.
King Shahryar had listened with great interest. He wanted to know what would happen next to the fisherman and the Jinni, so he decided to spare Shahrazad's life for another night.